We are back again with the Nola Rowe Experience podcast. And of course, I am your host, Nola Rowe. And I am here with super dancer, I mean, super producer, Mr. Melee.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you look like
Mister
Jim
Mister
Carrey
Everything.
with those facial expressions.
Probably get it from him.
Yeah, for the people who can't
The legend.
see, they have no idea what's happening right now, but it's epic. So we
Super
have a
super
host
buzz.
today,
A guest
a guest.
and a host. You're the host.
Am I? I said that right.
We-
I'm hungry and sleep
we-
deprived.
Don't worry.
Damn. You know what? I'm gonna go to
You'll
sleep.
get there.
Let me go get some rest and you guys just continue because clearly I don't know what's going on in my life.
All right, the Mr. Melee experience.
Yeah, that's gonna consist of too many beats.
Yeah, it's gonna be low, too rowdy. It's gonna be
Yeah, and
very
you guys are gonna have
chaotic.
to hear there's a meeting in my bed. Is that how it go? Is that how that song go?
That song has been stuck in my head
Yeah, they
all
don't know it's
day.
stuck in your head. And if this becomes the Mr. Melee experience, y'all gonna have to hear that all
Yup.
day.
Nonsense on nonsense.
So our not host, our guest, did I get it right?
Got it.
Our guest, CR908 from New Jersey. I saw him post something on Instagram about how he is going in the direction of being less religious and more spiritual. And
Mm.
I was like, hmm, I like,
Ooh.
I like, I think I like this conversation. So he's gonna come in and talk a little bit about his experiences in a few minutes. We're gonna patch him in. So CR908, aka Conscious Rap, was born and raised in New Jersey. Grew up in Roselle, New Jersey. Been rapping since he was 8 years old and started recording at 16. Signed to an independent label at 19. Then started his own label by 23. This guy is busy. And he's currently the CEO of Jump Out the Frame Records and also the co host of the Introverted Intuition Podcast, which I have listened to and I actually like it. You know, the name pulled me in. Um, but then once I listened to it, I was like, you know what? I like this. It's super dope. So the whole religion thing is it's like a topic that a lot of people don't want to touch because it's
Mm,
so called
yes.
controversial. You know,
Yeah.
why is it controversial? Why is this a controversy?
Because I mean, if you just even think about the idea of religion and you think about there being so many different religions, so many different factions of one religion, it's always been something that is divisive. But
Exactly.
oddly, it's like divisive, but it brings people together. So it's but
It
it's just
brings
always
people
been
together in groups,
mhm,
which
yes,
I don't agree
collective.
with. Yeah.
But it's always been something like that. It's always been controversial from crusades to the death of
Ooh,
Jesus. You
ooh.
know, I mean, so
People don't like to talk about the Crusades, yo.
we don't know why I
You
don't
know,
like to talk about the crusades.
because it's
I
a lot
wonder
of,
why.
because it's spicy. It's a juicy story. Um, I don't know. Do I know if you're religious?
I think you do. I
Is your
think you
R
do.
or is your R not?
I am not.
You're
I'm
not
not religious.
religious. Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I feel like it's hard to find someone who's religious nowadays.
Maybe that's a generational thing.
Mm. Uh, yeah,
I think
it might be.
I think millennials are slowly walking away from religion and the not that I think I know and the younger people are doing the same because obviously we're slowly getting rid of the old way of thinking and the old ways of thinking, and some of the traditions and dogmatic mindset that our parents, grandparents carried out. Uh,
Hmm.
and religion is up in there.
Yeah.
So I myself am not religious. Um, I do believe in spirituality simply because I am highly aware that, um, you know, I'm not that conceited. I don't think humans are the only beings in all of these galaxies, universe, realms,
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it, dimensions. We're not. I think it's
Don't
super.
get too deep now. I mean, you start going to dimensions.
You
It's
don't like the rabbit hole?
the right. No,
You don't like the rabbit hole?
no. I
You
don't
don't
like
like
to
the
get
white
into the rabbit
rabbit?
hole. Mm-mm.
So stay away from the
I don't
white
like to get.
rabbit.
I don't like to get into the
The
rabbit
red
hole.
pill or the blue pill? Okay. So, yeah, I'm not religious, and I grew up in a family of Christians,
Mm.
which, when that happens, it places you somewhere. I don't know if I'm a black sheep. I'm not really sure exactly what a black sheep is. But I have an idea, and I do think that in some ways maybe I have separated myself just a little bit, because there are certain things that I absolutely do not agree with and cannot live by. There are certain rules that I feel cannot apply to all 8 billion of us on this planet. You have billions and billions and billions of people on this planet, and we expect all of them to be in one box. Now, what exactly is being religious? Following a certain religion and strictly following the rules within that religion. And I feel like we're too diverse, we're too colorful, we're too
Mm.
unique as people, and we've all been offered different types of gifts and different types of perspectives, and just different vibes that make it so impossible to place us in these boxes. And of course, I feel like that divisiveness, it it makes us weak. It
Hmm.
makes us weak when we're divided, no matter what the division is. It makes us weak. But
Yeah.
you can tell me your thoughts on that. But in the meantime, CR is going to be joining us maybe in a minute or two.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree. Um, I feel like we're probably gonna agree with a lot that CR has to say.
So you want to bring him
I
in?
feel like
Hey, what's up?
How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I'm good. Can't complain.
Awesome.
Actually, I can't complain because I actually had some food poisoning and I've been feeling like crap all day.
oh damn.
Like, yeah, I did something so stupid. I left the ground turkey out to defrost, and I guess because I came home late, and then I thought it wouldn't be a big deal, so I cooked some of it for breakfast the next day. Oh my god,
Not a good idea.
Well, maybe you should come to
no.
Lesson learned. Lesson learned.
maybe you should come to the V side. You don't have to worry about meat going bad.
I really feel like I should. Today I had nothing but fruit, and I feel great. Like I feel way better. I've been drinking water, and
You
drinking
feel
and eating some
lighter.
fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to keep it light.
Well, you have come to the right place.
What's good
Holla
with
at
you,
me
bro?
What's going
backstage.
on, brother? Your bags.
So, I was telling the people that you posted something on your Instagram story that I
Yeah,
thought was intriguing. You mentioned that you're moving away from being religious and more so focusing on spirituality. And I was
yeah.
like, I want to talk to him. Let me see what that's all about. So, What is that all about?
So I feel like a lot of people identify with a religion because of the culture of that religion. I think
Crazy.
that's what it is. It's the culture, it's the community, it's the lifestyle that comes with that particular religion that makes people feel comfortable, right? So that's part of it. Second, I also feel like certain people, they use religion as a way to guarantee a definite afterlife, which is, you know, we don't know what happens after we're gone, but we can do what we can to be good people now, right? And I feel like as long as you follow that, whatever happens next is going to be good. But the reason I decided to more be less focused on spirituality than religion is because I feel like spirituality is natural law. These are things I feel every human is born with. And you don't have to necessarily subscribe to a church or a mosque, or a synagogue to feel that connection. But there's some people who do need that. Others, I feel like, call me out. I feel like colored people have a very natural, instinctual way to connect spiritually, and that's just natural law. There's certain things we just know because we're part of the universe.
See, see, I knew it, man. I'm not gonna like this podcast because we're gonna agree with this guy too much, man. I wanted today to be an argument. I wanted to throw some furniture, but everything you just said, I completely agree with. I totally understand. And to me, that makes sense. That makes logical sense for the times now and just in general as a human being. If we come back to the basic nature of human beings, there's no book for how to do this. Now, I mean, when we're born, how do we act straight out the gate? What are the things that we know, we believe and we feel without anyone telling us is right and wrong? We know if someone dies, we cry. We know if we get hurt, we feel pain. Without someone having to explain this to us, we know these things. So, I don't want to get too deep into it, but why do we need a book to tell us, don't do this, thou shalt not kill? Why do
But
we
you
need a
know
book
what?
to tell us thou shalt not kill?
I do believe in values. I do believe heavily in principles. Um, and you take what you can from religion, right? You take what you
Yeah.
can and you use it, and you do things that are constructive. However,
Mhm.
that's
However,
that's not that's
it's
not
a
what's
big
been
however.
happening. That's not what's been happening. I do feel like, you can be on a block with 5 houses and I don't talk to them because they Jewish. You have no idea. You have no idea what that person is like on the inside. You have no idea how you can be assets to each other. You don't know how you can build together. You don't know how you can
Mhm.
produce. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? And I feel like that's where you lose me. I do like some
Mhm.
of the principles, thou shall not steal shit because I can't stand a thief.
That's how it was written. That's how
Stop.
God wrote it.
Word for word.
Well, you know what? If I was God, if I was him, I
Word for word.
wouldn't be writing anything. I would just be like, zap. You
Uh,
just manifest to make it happen. You
I
think he
thought
sat there
I
with a
thought you meant zapping people away. Like, you stole, zap, you're gone. You're
Right.
gone.
You're canceled. You're
Cancel.
canceled.
Cancel.
but guess what? Guess what? When it in the religious realm, right? If you do break one of these rules, you do get canceled. And
Yeah.
let me just fling us over to politics for like 2 seconds, where you might have a politician running for whatever office, right? Let's say it's 2020. Somebody's going to come and say, well, in 1963, 50 something years ago, he said this and he did that. And according to Christian law or whatever law politics like to delve into, I feel like politics, specifically in this country, like to pretend to delve into Christianity, right? So
Mhm.
57 years ago, he said he doesn't like women or something. At what point do we forgive that person? And forgiveness is a principle of Christianity, but I feel like it's not forgiving at all. Like people are not forgiven. If you
Mhm.
slip up a little bit, if you say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing according to these laws, you're not forgiven. But the people
Yeah.
who are carrying these things out,
Yeah, I feel like your CR, your perspective is on the rise for a lot of people, especially nowadays with everything that's going on with the with black people. It's like, how do we have so much hate in a country that is mostly Christian? It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's like, what in your religious values, what in your religious book is telling you that these people are not worthy of humanity? I mean, it's like, so that's been my perspective from jump, because I
Yeah,
mean, I was never raised religious, so I guess from the beginning I didn't really have the understanding of why religion was important. But then in just trying to, because at one point I was trying to be a devout Christian, and I
I
like
tried to.
was
My uncle's a
OD like,
pastor.
oh wow, yeah. So I tried to really subscribe to that, and I just couldn't get jiggy with it. But I'm, as in my studies and in my learning through it, I'm just like, all right, why? But these are the things that I already do. I'm already kind to my neighbor. I'm already, loving and sharing with people. And why do people feel like they need somebody to tell them to do these things?
and
These are,
thou don't be stealing.
And
thou don't steal, thou don't kill.
and and I wanted to mention though, right? I feel like there's certain people in society that are not as positive. So what
Uh,
happens is that some of the most religious people are the most people with the most evil thoughts, and they need
mm-hmm.
something outside of themselves that's going to restrain that. They need to
Yes.
do something practical that makes them feel like they are having some type of control over their impulses.
Oh,
Because
Yes.
I feel that's why we have priests who are molesting young boys and all this. This is why. It's
Bruh.
because these are the people who need something outside of themselves in order to have self control.
Mm-hmm.
oh,
Yeah.
gems.
I don't want to seem like I'm completely against religion, because through
Yeah,
my travels of performing and stuff, I've performed in a lot of churches, and I've heard of a lot of testimonies and a lot of stories of people who have struggled with life in general and have been saved because of religion. So I completely agree with what you just said. Sometimes some people are, because life is life. Things get tough, things get hard, people get destroyed and broken, and sometimes people need a power greater than themselves in order to lift them up, to bring them back to a level of humanity. Because I remember performing. So funny. I'm wearing this shirt. My theater group, The Truth, we performed at this church one time, and I remember there was a woman in there who was just had a testimony, and she was talking about how she was abused as a child. She was molested. She was kicked out of her house. She started prostituting, doing drugs, all these things. And then she said the only thing that saved her was Jesus. So in my mind, I'm like, all right, how can I be like, nah, Jesus? I mean, how can I say that Jesus didn't save you? You went through all of that, and you felt like, listen, I've been beat down so much in my life that I need something greater than me to tap into me, to make me
yeah.
feel like I can still continue on with this life as hard as it is. And I can't
There's
knock
nothing.
that.
I can't knock that. I agree 100%. That's why I say I'm very neutral, and I still respect religion and everything, because
Mm,
everybody's individual perspective on life and everybody's journey is different, right?
yeah.
For the journey I'm on, I might not need that, but
Mm,
somebody who's been through those type of traumas, they need that. That's why I still
yeah.
say religion can be very helpful depending on how the tool is used. If it's used
Mm,
correctly, it'll build instead of destroy. So some people will be able to use that to bring themselves out of that detrimental mindset, that negativity. They're so stuck behind that energy from all the trauma they've been through. They need something outside of themselves to be peaking like, yo, come here. they need that, yo. Some people, it's really, some people need that. But once they get there, that's when they become fulfilled and they become centered. You know, that's the next level after they've connected with that higher power. You feel me? I feel like the ultimate level of, you know, spiritual consciousness is when you're able to finally realize that that energy is centered and you can create it. You know, once you learn how to generate that positive energy within yourself. But that's a transition.
So that brings me to I was literally thinking of this question in my head, and then you started answering it, and I'm like, I hope he doesn't answer this question before I'm able to ask it, because then I have to generate another one. But so what I was going to ask you is, obviously there are people who are aware that they are a part of a religion because they feel lost, and that's all they know. They're aware of that, but they have no idea of which way to go. I know you are of Haitian descent, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously highly religious culture, and
Mm-hmm.
spirituality as well. um
Yes.
how would you tell, and you obviously, you said your uncle is or was a pastor.
He is currently.
Right. Your uncle is a pastor. You've spent a significant amount of time in the church, but then you were still able to redirect your visions and redirect your focus and find yourself somewhere else, right? Where you're tapping into that
Yeah.
inner stuff. What about the people who feel lost and they're like, this is all I know. I don't know which way to go. I'm not coming out of this because I'm going to jump outside and, I'm scared of what could happen to me. How did you do it? And how would you recommend another person find that path?
I will tell them that they have to find the reason why they're in that religion, right? Is
Mm,
it because of the culture of that religion? Is it because you align with the morals and the principles of that religion? What is it that you get from that? You know what I'm saying? Ask yourself that. And then ask yourself how you can create that within yourself. You know what I'm saying? And if you feel like, because it's like this, there's nothing wrong with depending on your faith, you know, to be strong. Some people need that and they're built that way. You know what I'm saying? Um, but I feel that that really parallel with how they depend on the culture, the community of that religion. I feel like that's what's really missing, and I feel like that's what keeps them. But that's just my perspective. I would have to ask them, what is it that makes you feel like you need to be in this religion? As opposed to asking them, you know, how could you be without it? But why do you feel like you need it? Like what is your strength coming from exactly?
mm,
Because it's different for everybody.
true.
Some
True.
people are just for the word. They're like, yo, I'm a Christian because I believe in the word. Some people say, yo, I'm a Christian because I have sisterhood at my church. There's
Mm,
people who listen to me and they have community, they understand me. There's some people who, you know, go to church and they love to sing and be a part of the music. That's the healing
mm,
process for them.
True.
Like
yeah.
it's different for everybody. So there's so many different aspects of that of church that's offered. So I would have to ask them, well, why are you here? What are you
So
looking for?
how did you do it? How were you able to, kind of jump out of the frame, right? Um
I
come
like that.
on, come on, man.
Mhm.
Um how were you able to redirect your energy and tap into this space where you feel spirituality benefited you more? How did you do it?
I realized there when I got to a certain age, there was a disconnect, right? Just like how I mentioned, some people go to church for the people and for the culture and community. Like I had been in church for so long on the other side of being the people who had to organize and work in the church. It became, in my perspective, a job, an obligation. So that's where the disconnect began for me. And I didn't get the same feeling that somebody who was coming to church as opposed to somebody who was running the church. You feel me? Because I was part of the crew, my uncle, my cousins, we all would be in the background doing things and be there before everybody. And plus, I'd have to be at church during the week. You know, it was a lot that came with it. So when I started feeling like it was an obligation, I wasn't able to receive the same energy that people who were coming there to seek, community and culture. You know what I'm saying? So what happened for me is I started searching that for it outside of church. And I started trying to find people who thought like me. And, you know, I started, just honestly reading different books, watching different videos on YouTube, and I started questioning things. I really just started asking a lot of questions, and I thank God for that experience because I feel that sometimes when you grow up in a church in a family that's heavily religious, you can easily be trained to just think that way and not be able to broaden your horizons. I think it's important to still, even because I know people who are heavily Christian, but they still are able to think on the spiritual terms as well.
Yeah, me too.
They have their reason to follow a religion. I respect that.
Yeah.
But if you are the type of person who's doing it because you honestly are afraid and don't know what else to do, I don't really respect that. I feel like you're trying to find a shortcut on the journey.
Yeah, true. And then you're gonna have to come back and redo it, but that's a whole other discussion. Let me
And
ask
probably
you.
people who are lost, who be doing crazy shit because they're not spiritually aligned. People who go to church and be doing the fuck, excuse my language, be doing the crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying?
This is a safe space. You can say whatever the fuck you want.
All right, awesome. Yeah. So like, motherfuckers, because I curse a lot anyway. But anyway, motherfuckers be like, the wild shit, and they go to church every Sunday. It's just like, are you really spiritually aligned? What are you here for?
Trust me, I know. And I think that's where I fell out. I think that's where I kind of lost respect for it as well. And you know what? I made this decision when I was a child. I made the decision to not be religious since I was probably like 5 or 6 years old. I was like, I was like, something ain't right here. But
it didn't feel right. It was a feeling for you, right?
Yeah, it was a feeling. It wasn't clicking. So let me ask you this: who is God to you?
I worship positive energy. I think God is everything positive. That feeling you get when you laugh so hard that tears come out your eyes, I think that's God. I think that love that you feel when you're with your family and you guys are just enjoying each other, I think that's God. I think all things positive, that's God. I think everything good is God. That's just me. You know
Look
what I'm
at
saying?
God.
So I feel like, huh?
Look at God.
For real. And I feel that the way you practice and worship God is by spreading positivity. It's really that, in my opinion, for me, is that simple. That's how I live my life.
I love it.
That's just all I
So where does the negative energy comes from? If God is all positive, where is this negativity coming from?
I was gonna ask that too.
I stole
it
your
comes from
question.
fear. It comes from our own minds. That negative energy comes from us. It's all coming from the same place.
But what's
it's
the
where
source?
You decide to put your focus.
But what's the original source? If positivity is God and, we essentially practice that and we exude that, what's the original source of negative energy?
Do you believe in the devil?
I think it's the.
Dang,
I think
Melee.
God.
Melee, I didn't want to ask that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What he say? What he say?
I wanted him to say it, Melee.
Oh, okay. My bad. My bad. I was reading into your question.
I didn't hear him. What he say?
Oh, maybe it's better. Okay, never mind. Answer first, and then I'll tell you.
I feel like they're all in the same. It's who you decide to worship. Who do you decide to practice? Are you practicing positivity or are you practicing negativity? I feel that God and the devil, good and positive, they're all part of the same atom, right? There's two sides to every atom. So I feel that it really depends on where you put your focus.
Ooh.
Are you focusing on being positive or you focus on being negative?
We
all teeter, but some people are more on one side than the other.
Yeah.
As soon as this pandemic is over, we're inviting you to dinner. We're having drinks.
I love to eat.
Vegan.
Vegan dinner.
He said vegan.
I'm down.
I love it. Yeah, we probably definitely needed someone to counteract our views because I feel like we're loving CR too much and it makes it so lopsided. Like all of this positive energy is making somebody upset.
Uh-huh.
What do you think? Somebody's mad. Like they're all thinking the same thing.
No,
That's not fair.
yeah, we're gonna get the opposition. We might get the opposition in the comments because not everybody feels this way. In
Right.
millennials too. There's a lot of millennials who still, are religious and still. Well, like we said, it's not. We're not trying to bash religion. We're not trying to say that it's stupid or it's
Yeah.
wrong or anything. It's just different perspectives, and as human beings, with the number one thing that God gave us was choice, we have to express that, we have to practice that and understand that, listen, this is our choice is to do whatever we feel is necessary for our journey, like you mentioned, CR. Like it's whatever you feel is necessary for your journey, if that's religion, if that's spirituality, if that's nothing, because at one point, even me, I believed that I was
An
atheist.
atheist.
uh
Mm, mm.
yeah, and
Talk
Well, you
about
had
that.
you
that
had to
was
go through those
literally,
journeys, right? You had to go through those
yeah.
feelings, and it's so important to be able to travel and pick up information and say, you know what, I changed my mind.
hmm Yeah, I think in the
I
beginning,
cheated with those thoughts before too, yo.
yeah, it's like you said, it is a journey. It's a roller coaster because I think in the beginning, I felt like a lot of the times, even though I wasn't raised Christian, I said that I was religious or I believed in Jesus because I felt like that was the thing to say, before I knew anything else. And then when I jumped into learning about religion and being involved in stuff, then I was like, okay, so I'm not Christian. um, I may be a little religious, but I definitely know that I'm not Christian. And then after that, because my whole experience with that, I was going to church and everything, but I was going to Bible study, and every time I just remember being Bible study, I would just ask questions and they would just tell me to believe. And I'm just like, wow. I just, I find that very hard. Like I'm asking, I'm like, all right, so you're telling me that people wrote the book? And it's like, yeah, people wrote the book. And I'm like, so if people wrote the book, can't that mean that they lie? And they're like, no, it's God, just believe. And I'm like, no. And then that turned me into
Yes.
believing that God doesn't exist. Because I'm
Right.
like, if you guys are telling me this and I'm just supposed to believe, and God gave me logic and thought to believe, to think something outside of what I see and what I hear, and then you're going to
Mm,
tell me, all right, no, God is just telling you to believe. I'm like, there is no God. So at one
mm,
point I was just like, I don't believe in God. There's nothing, and it is what it is. And then I have experiences that I'm like, all right, that's God. You come across your personal experience and you like, that can't be nothing. That can't be,
right.
that
A
can't be
coincidence.
whatever, like stardust, or that has to be some type of power, some type of spirituality, some connection that we can't see and we can't fully understand, but it's not nothing. So then I was like, all
I
right,
agree
we're not atheists.
100%.
You know what I mean? But
I agree 100% because that's exactly what happened with me.
yeah.
I had went through a phase where I challenged, like I outwardly was challenging God because what happened in 2012, somebody from my neighborhood died. His name is Demel, and he got shot
Mm,
by some of his own friends.
mm,
I don't know why. It was ridiculous happening to Roselle. So after that happened, that was my first time ever really experiencing death with somebody that I knew.
mm,
So I was just like questioning that, bringing up, the whole idea of, the book being written by other people and us following the word of man. So I was like, if
mm,
you're real, I said out loud, I was like, God, if you're real, show me.
mm,
And I tell you, man, I went through an entire journey after that, like an entire, like it felt like an outer body experience. I
mhm,
long, it's a long story, so I'm not gonna get into it. Maybe you can even save it for another
yeah.
episode. But I ended up like in the freaking hospital because of this journey. Like I was like,
Mm.
God was showing me things. It was a spiritual experience, and I needed to go through that, and
And
that's what brought me back.
I like
that
that.
also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I like that that's a part of your story because
Mm,
social media gives me an opportunity to study people. I am a people watcher. Like I could sit in a park or at a window and just watch people all day. Not in a creep way, but
AKA a creep.
not in a
Okay.
not in a creepy way, but I just love studying people. And social media
Yeah,
gives
no, I
me that,
feel you.
right? So I have seen people say things. I did chime in, well, not chime in, tune into a post where somebody was talking about religion. And one of the comments, someone said, why do we have starving children? Why do people get into car accidents? Why do people get injured? Why do this? Why do that? And I'm responding in my head because I don't want to argue with anybody in the comments, right? Because that's what social media is these days. We're
Mhm.
arguing about stuff for no reason. Um, and in my head, I'm thinking that is God. I don't believe that God only shows up to give us this free ride or to have us skipping and whistling through a field of flowers. I do feel like the challenges, the pain, the lessons are all integral to our development. And if you're going through a lot of things, it means that you have a lot to learn. And God does that. God is offering you these die-hard opportunities to really level up. And if it's a hard level up, then you're gonna go through some shit. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So
Right.
yeah. What do you think of the SCR?
I agree with that because I feel that everything that you go through it affects you depending on how you respond to it, right? Because some people go through similar traumas in life, and there's two totally different outcomes. And that's because of the perception that you have. Back to what I was saying, what are you focusing on more, the positive energy or the negative energy?
I saw AD mentioned yin and yang, light and dark, the balance of nature is the balance of life. You were
Now I
you were
remember
going into that.
I was talking about, yeah, so when it comes to like putting your focus, right? One thing that we have as conscious beings is the ability to
Mhm.
focus. So are you focusing on positive or are you focusing on negative in response to whatever trauma you're dealing with in life? Because every setback comes up with an opportunity, right? But if you're so focused on the problem, how are you going to see any solutions? So it
Ooh,
really depends on what you're able to practice. Are you practicing positivity or are you practicing negativity? And fear, anxiety, those things are negative. Those are all negative emotions and negative thought patterns that affect exactly how you carry yourself.
Mhm.
fear-based, right? It's either you're loving or you're fearing. And one thing that I say all the time, people are like, why would you question God? Why would you question Jesus? And my response to that is we were created with this level of intelligence for a reason. Of course, we
Mhm.
have questions because we are
Mhm.
exploring a world that um, we're new here, right? We're new in this world, and
Yeah.
if you're 30, you don't know what 31 is like. You're new to that. If you go to a new job, you don't know what that job is like. You're new to that. Every single day you wake up, you're having a new experience. So we're new here.
True.
And it's only right. It makes sense that you have to have questions. How are we going to get answers?
Yeah.
You need to ask
Yeah.
first, right? So let me
Yeah.
ask you this. I am heavy into African spiritualism, and I was a little bit curious to know, if I don't know if you call on Jesus or if you call on any one or anything in particular, but if that's something that you don't mind sharing, I'm curious to know. Like, right now, I'm wearing my Ma'at pendant. This energy right here is an energy that's gotten me through a lot of things, especially familial relationships, issues. Um, so I have my energies that I do call on. Do you have those?
I call on God and I also call on the universe. Because the way I perceive it is like God is the chef and the universe is the kitchen. So it's like I talk to God and I also practice in the kitchen, which is the universe, right? So
Mm.
it's like if I need something, I talk to him and then I put in the work behind it so it could be put together.
Yeah.
So,
Probably.
so is God a him?
I mean,
He.
personally, I don't think God is a being like a human. I think God is an energy. So I feel like, you just say he, her, it, him. I really think that there's no gender behind whatever God is. I guess because of society and the society I've grown up with, I tend to use the male pronoun when describing God. But I feel like most of us do that because of the patriarchal country that we live in.
Ooh,
Hmm.
and the P word, I love it. I do feel like Christianity um does throw a lot of power towards the man and diminishes a lot of the power, the natural divine power of the feminine, of women. And
Hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I there's certain principles that I just can't rock with, because when you look at these paintings, you see all of these men, and there's so much power in that, and then you see Jesus and it's this white guy, and God is a him, and there's so much male energy, and it takes things off balance, and I'm like, when are we going to give Mother Nature her props?
Hmm.
Right, because I feel like if I had to put a label on it, I feel like positive energy is more feminine energy, and I feel like masculine energy is more dark energy, right? You know what I'm saying? Like if I had to put a label on it, that's just how I perceive it. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have both energies within us,
Uh,
right? It's depending on which side you're more tapped into, but I just feel like when you think of feminine energy, it's flamboyant, it's bright, it's energetic, and then masculine energy is it's hard, it's
mhm.
tough, it's you know what I'm
And even
saying?
just even if you think about creation, to me it only makes sense that the that the creative energy and God is more feminine or
I
more
agree.
female than anything, because men can't make babies. Men
Right.
can't really create. I'm not say make, but birth. Men can't birth things. So it's like, to me, to think that the earth was created, the earth was birthed, these things were, manifested into creation as they are today. It kind of only makes sense that that energy is a little more feminine. And
Yeah.
like you were saying, I don't like to use he or she either, because I don't, I believe that, what we call on this higher power is energy more than anything. But would say that that energy is probably more feminine, because that just seems like creation is more feminine. Women
Yeah,
create, women can birth
agreed.
things.
But the man is the giver of life. The life comes from the man first.
Mm.
And you
And then
know,
it's nurtured by the woman.
absolutely
Mm,
nurtured and brought forth.
mm,
The vaginal canal is a portal. That's where how you enter into this realm. But you can't even get here without a man offering um, what only he can offer. You know what I mean? So it's very, very important that we acknowledge that we need these two connecting parts, because the man is the giver of life and the woman is the nurturer, creator, bringer of life. So
mm.
we're both equally important. But at the end of the day, the one who is nurturing and raising is the woman. So
So
love
God
you
is a woman.
guys. I wouldn't say that. I would say God is a combination of both energies.
Yes.
Mm.
I agree with that.
So God
Yeah.
has titties and a penis.
I hope not. I hope not, because then somebody who just went through a sex change operation is gonna see, I told y'all.
I'm God.
That's and it's okay. It's okay. We can all claim God, because at the end of the day, we're all being initiated into our God self, right? Everything that
Mhm.
we go through is an initiation into our God selves. Shout out to Dr. Jewel Pookeram. I stole that from her. Love her. Um, but this is such an interesting conversation, and I feel like we can go all night long.
Absolutely.
All night long.
Absolutely. I think you answered all my questions because I was definitely going to go into like how it was most people come into religion just based off of where they were born, the family they were born into, and we talked about that and how the book was written. I don't know if you went into your upbringing and how if you were raised in church, like if you're, because I know Nola mentioned that your parents are, that you're Haitian. I don't know if both your parents are Haitian, but I'm Haitian as well. So I know that even though my
Ah,
parents,
passé.
hey, even though my parents aren't like traditional Haitian, um, I know that the Haitians are very heavy into religion, being Catholic and going to church and singing the songs and all that. So, was that your experience as well? Like, was your family heavily religious when you were growing up?
Hell yeah. My grandma, my dad, my mom's side was Catholic and my dad's side is Baptist
Ooh.
Christian, right?
Okay.
So they're all super religious, man. Church was a regular part of my upbringing.
Mm,
Like my dad's brother is a pastor. He owns a church still currently. Since I was a child, we always had to go to church
mm,
on Fridays, sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays.
wow.
Yeah, I was in church a lot growing up,
Yeah.
bro. And
Me
then I
too.
switched and started going to American church because I felt like I wanted to understand the word
Uh-huh.
better because they spoke a lot of Creole and
Uh-huh.
French in their sermons. And even though I understand Creole, when you're talking about the Bible, it's a lot harder to understand.
Sure.
So I
Sure.
eventually started going to an American church, but that was in my adulthood, my young adulthood, like early 20s.
Uh-huh. So how was that transition like, especially with your family? Like I mean, I don't know if how recent this is with you saying that you want to become more spiritual and less religious, but how is that transition with you not going to church anymore if you feel like that's what you're going to do or what you've been doing, and you're not reading the Bible and doing all the things that you were raised to do?
That happened to me when I really started getting my own independence, like started living on my own and
Mm,
things like that. That was like around probably like 22, where I was completely ready to just be like non-religious. Because after I had my spiritual awakening, um, and in certain books they call it a conversion experience. When I had that, that's when I felt like I had to go to church again, and that's when I started going to the American church. After I told you guys about that little episode I had when I challenged God and I
mm,
went through a spiritual, yeah. So I ended up starting to go to church and everything like that, and I was looking for something outside of myself. And then through that journey, that was like around like 22, 23, and then I was able to start directing and finding that energy within myself. And
mm,
that's when I became more spiritual because after I started going to the church a lot, I started realizing like, am I here because like what am I here for? I'm here. I really went because I love the music. I like the sermons because the sermons were particular to me, but
mm.
I was not following the actual culture of Christianity.
Yeah.
And I felt like if I'm not following the exact traditions that you guys celebrate and all the, nicks and nannies of being a Christian, I don't feel that comfortable because these are people who are there who are members of the church. They're like in plays, they're doing all
Mm,
this stuff. And it's like that's the more practical side of it. And it's like, that's cool, but that wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I had to develop my own practices that made sense to me.
Mm. Yeah, because I think a lot of people are caught in that position. A lot of people feel like uh, they are stuck between this, between religion and a hard place, because it's like, especially if you were raised in it, your family, your whole family is this specific religion, and then personally you feel like, dang, I don't connect with this belief, and but you have these strict parents, and they make sure that you have to go to church, you have to read your Bible, you have to do all these things. um, I guess I would say this because I saw Nola raise her hand. I would want to present this question to both of y'all. What do you say to those people who maybe are not able to be in your position, who can't leave and be independent, but they're stuck in a situation where they are, uh, you know, kind of forced to practice this religion that they don't feel connected with?
I'm gonna answer first because my answer is mad short. Um, being stuck is a choice.
Ooh,
Mm,
ooh. You got to explain that.
I agree. I
You got
I agree with
you got
that.
to dive a little deeper.
Being stuck is a choice. There's no, if you are being held captive by kidnappers, granted, I'm not weighing these two situations as equal. But if you're being held by kidnappers and you don't want to be there because these people took you, um, and it was beyond your control in some way, you're thinking about getting out, and at some point you probably will try to escape. And I put so much urgency on different things, like mad drama in my head. I do look at it like you're hijacking my perspective, and you are hijacking my choice of
Mm,
being somewhere. And there really is no such thing. If you don't want to be somewhere, you have to stand up to your people, whether it's your parents or whoever. But I do understand that, being stuck is also a fear based situation. You're scared, you don't want to tell your people, because when they react, and some parents, when they feel like they don't have control, they go to the extreme. Oh, you can't come to Thanksgiving, no turkey for you, and
mm-hmm.
I know I'm being goofy about it, but it in other terms, I'm just meaning that they will threaten to cut you off. And we don't want to be at odds with our parents. We don't want that. These are our people. But look at it like
Yeah.
this. The universe placed you here not to belong to anybody. My son doesn't belong to me. And I will never in life force him to be stuck in anything for my comfort. So I was already kind of a little rebel in a very cute, quiet way as a kid. So I just jumped out of it. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I'm not going.
How many
Yeah.
whoopings did you take
None.
until they?
None, because I also
Oh.
didn't have the structure. I didn't have the structure where I had like these dominant people who
Okay.
expected certain things of me. I kind of had
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
some wiggle room where I could say, I ain't going. But however, there were times when I hid in the bathroom. When we're supposed to go to church, I'll be hiding out in the bathroom for 40 minutes, an hour. They're like, yo, she doesn't want to go, man. Just leave. And after a while, um, like
Let you
CR
be.
said, when he became independent, now he had his choices, and he took
Hmm.
his choices into consideration and control them. And that's what I did. I'm very spiritual. I don't like to use the word worship too much, but I do tap into my guides, and I do listen to the universe. And there is absolutely no louder voice than the voice of intuition,
Mm.
which to
Yes.
me, intuition is the
Yes.
same as God to me.
I agree, and I feel like that's how I've been guiding myself. I just call it my inner compass.
Hmm.
That intuition has guided me through very difficult decisions, and it always works out. And I feel like that's God. That's God. When you're allowing yourself to make decisions based on faith, that's that's truly how you worship God.
And then you see the alignment in things, right? Like things just click, 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 click. Everything is just lined up, and you're like, wow, there are so many people who don't even know how to pay attention. So they don't even see that they have this big, wonderful, amazing life. You fool yourself into thinking that your life sucks because bad things are happening to you. No, when something so called bad happens to me, I look at it like I'm really protected. Like I'm getting these messages that things need to change or I need to do something
Yes.
and to me that's a positive. I'm protected. Like I say it all the time. I'm so protected. If
Mhm.
I get into a relationship issue with my boyfriend or a family member or whatever, I'm like, yeah, I'm protected. My guides are sending me this message like, girl, stop doing that. Stop.
Mhm.
And it's up to us to listen.
Facts.
I
Ashe.
agree with that.
Wonderfully said. So, in conclusion,
In conclusion, CR, you're so dope. You're so
mhm.
dope. We owe you dinner and drinks. We're gonna feed you next summer.
I really would be
Yes.
up with that, man. If y'all let me know when, I would love to sit down and chill with you guys over a meal and just talk. Like, I really want to vibe with you guys.
Word,
Yeah,
word,
let's do
word,
that.
word.
Let's do that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. It was such a pleasure. And keep coming back. We're going to have so many amazing things to talk about, so many other amazing guests. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube, follow on the Instagram, hit us up on Facebook, comment, like, share, show love, or show whatever it is you like to show. All right. Thank you.
Peace.